there is a very specific type of misery that comes from winning. You hit the revenue goal, you scale the team, you buy the house, and you do exactly what society told you to do to win. But when you finally cross the finish line, instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel completely empty. You feel like you actually lost. If you're winning on paper but feel miserable internally, you do not have a gratitude problem. You have an identity problem. You're succeeding in a system whose rules you never actually agreed to. You're not steering your life. You're just drifting in society's current. And drifting is comfortable right up until you realize that you're entirely off course. In NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, there's a core principle that we have, and it is the map is not the territory. The territory is actual reality, but the map is your internal perception of it. Think of it like if you're navigating your way around a city. So let's say you're going through New York City. Well, reality is the city, the actual territory. But you might have a map that you're using to navigate around. And maybe it has certain landmarks on it and whatnot, and the map gives you some indication of reality, but not everything. Like the map might have a landmark of a statue, but there might be another like significant statue that's not on the map, but you can see it with your own eyes. This is what I mean. So your map is not the territory. The territory is the territory. So most founders are just operating on a flawed map handed to them by their parents, their schools, hustle culture, YouTube videos, whatever it is. And they've learned some stuff along the way. And the problem is this map is flawed. It's not the territory. And we all have flaws in our maps. And we all have shortcomings in our maps and our internal perceptions that are not always the territory. So your map might say things like, vulnerability is weakness. Or, if I just work harder, I'll finally feel like enough. But when you operate a business on a broken map, you'll eventually self-sabotage no matter how good your strategy is. You can't out-strategize your map and your flaws that are on there. Now, I know this because I lived it. I got an MBA. I became a VP at an agency. I built it up. I built that agency up. Then later, I started my own agency. I scaled it to consistent six-figure months. And then eventually, I engineered a seven-figure exit. Now, according to my map, I was supposed to feel ecstatic. But instead, my marriage fell apart. My identity completely crumbled. And I felt like a tourist in my own life. I was winning at Babylon's game, but I was just completely misaligned with my true purpose. When I finally dropped the ego and connected with God and rewired my map, everything changed. I stopped drifting and I started architecting. I started to create a much more robust map that was much more accurate, and it changed everything for me because our map, our internal map, affects how we interact with our reality. It affects the way that our experiences are all made up. So it completely changes things for you. Now, if you're an established founder who's hitting revenue goals, but maybe you're feeling like you're burnt out or unfulfilled, or you feel like you're having problems scaling and you need to fix your foundation, you can click the link in the description to go to my website, manrewired.com, and you can book a free one-on-one discovery call with me. We'll map out the internal bottlenecks, keeping you misaligned, and engineer your next stage of true growth. So the thing is, as it goes, if you think about how this works in reality, think about this metaphor. If you've ever seen the show The Office, there's an episode where Dwight and Michael are actually driving out in the country and they're trying to get to someone's house. Now, the car is perfectly fine, they're operating fine, but they're using a GPS. And this was in the early days of GPS. And it's saying, hey, turn right, turn right. And then one of them says, just turn the car right. You got to turn right here. And they turn right, sharp right, listening to the GPS, right? The GPS being their map. But the funny thing that happens is they turn right and they end up driving straight into a lake. So their car goes headfirst into the lake. And then they start yelling, they're like yelling about it. They get out of the car and they pretty much lost the car. They scuffed the whole car. And the problem there was the territory, reality, there was no road there. It was just went straight into a lake. So the GPS was the map, and the map was incorrect. It was flawed. I actually had a similar experience just the other day. I was driving home from the coast, and as I was driving, I knew the road that I was on. I didn't really even need the GPS. I knew where I was going, and I was cruising, but I had the GPS on because there was traffic issues and things like that. And as I was driving, the GPS said that I had to turn left at this weird spot. And I went right past it. And my fiance says, "Hey, you missed the turn." And I was like, "There was no turn." And she's like, "Yeah, it says it right there on the GPS. You got to turn around." So I turn around and go back. It takes me to the spot where I was supposed to turn. There is no turn. It's literally trees. There wasn't even an old road that used to be there. Somehow, the maps were just completely incorrect. The GPS, the map was completely incorrect. There was never a road there. There's not even an old road there. It was just completely flawed. And if I listened to it, what would have happened? Well, I would have just completely just crashed into a tree. Just like how on The Office they crashed straight into a lake. So in the situation, you have to understand, it doesn't matter how fast the car is, how much gas you have, how hard you press the pedal in the situation, you're going to end up lost, frustrated, or crashing into something. Like the engine, which is like your work ethic, is fine. But the map, which is your internal programming, it's completely wrong. So to stop drifting and become the architect of your own reality, you really need to execute 3 structural shifts. The first one is identify the false map. So you have to isolate the exact rules that you're currently following that you never consciously agreed to. So this might be something like your worth being tied to your monthly revenue, stuff like that. You really need to audit this. The next thing you have to do is do a mechanical rewire. So in this case, this would be something like, just realizing that you're not going to be able to use a vision board or something like that to fix this. You have to actually align your daily actions with your actual core values. So this is like doing a proper rewire because it's going to affect neuroplasticity. It's going to affect the neural pathways in your brain. So you have to build a life that you don't need to escape from with a vacation. Okay? That's like really important here. You have to actually enjoy what you're doing, and you have to structure it in a way where your values are aligned. Next thing is what I call the kingdom anchor. So this is where you anchor your new map in God's territory. So when you align your identity with your God-given purpose, instead of just society's expectations, the internal friction just disappears. It just evaporates. It's gone. The self-sabotage just disappears. Like it's completely amazing. I do this all the time as I work with men in Man Rewired. So how does a broken map destroy your business? Well, when your unconscious map equals money is the only safety, well, you're going to make erratic, fear-based leadership decisions. It's just as simple as that. You'll hold on to toxic clients. You'll refuse to hire the help that you need. You won't outsource when you need to. You'll try to micromanage your team. You'll just hold on to things way too tightly, not allowing things to breathe properly. And when you rewire the map, the anxiety just drops. You can finally focus on making decisive and just powerful moves that are required to scale. So let's do a structural check right now. You can either face a mirror and do this. I think it's more powerful if you face a mirror. If you don't have one nearby, one thing you can do is just close your eyes. And what I want you to do is just ask yourself, what rules are you following right now that you never actually agreed to? Really ask yourself that. And truly think about the answer. You can even journal it down if you want. And then the next thing to ask yourself after you think through that is, are you running your business based on your own deeply held values, or are you just drifting along with what the industry told you to do? And be real with yourself on this. Be real with yourself. Now, I want you to take this and identify one area of your business where you feel like you're just drifting. Write it down and write down the false belief that's attached to it. This is the starting point for you. If you want to do this work alongside other high-level men, join my free school community. It's called Man Rewired. The link is in the description. It's completely free. You'll see it down there. Stop drifting, start architecting, and live by design, not by default. I'll see you in the next one.